Hey guys, welcome to the video. Salt here. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Kitgun, the Gaze, and we're going to be looking at its primary build because the Gaze is a kit gun. It of course can be either built for a primary or a secondary. We did the secondary video 2 days ago, and so today is the primary. So in this weapon series, I take a weapon, I build it out, and I test that weapon on its own merits, meaning I don't mix it with any kind of external factors that would increase weapon performance. That would be things like Warframes using abilities, pets putting statuses on enemies, things like that. I just test a weapon built out by itself, and I let the viewer make their own intelligent conclusions about adding those external things. So the Gaze was recommended to us by commenter Darth Plague is the Unwise, and that's why we're doing it today. We have the top commenter of the last video, Salazar Firefang 2699. And the first commenter of the last video, Silver44. And we have our recent supporters of Toxic Sneeze, Johnny, and Eddie. Thank you so much for your support. All right, so we have the Gaze here. We have the primary version of the Gaze. This is what the weapon looks like. It'll look a little bit different if you choose other parts for it. Now let's go over the parts real quick before we go into the build. So the best way to build out the Gaze primary is going to be the tremor grip with either the splat or the kill stream loader. The splat loader will give you a slightly more increased magazine size, and the kill stream loader will give you a slightly quicker reload. So you can kind of make the decision with the loader, but the splat and the kill stream loaders are going to be the highest damage. They just have those two minor differences with each other, right? They're equal for everything else except for the splat's slightly more mag size and the kill stream's slightly quicker reload. So you could decide that yourself. Now, as far as the grips go, the tremor is the strongest grip. However, like we were talking with the secondaries, the grips on beam weapons can, well, they do affect the range of the beam. And so the tremor, it is the most powerful, but it's also the lowest range of the beams at 16 meters. The longest range beam would be the brash at 30 meters, but of course the brash is weaker. So I'm going to use the most powerful one with the tremor. It's only 16 meters, but keep in mind, primaries and secondaries have an Exilus mod that increases beam range. And actually the primary's Exilus mod is an extra 12 meters. So yeah, the tremor only is 16 meters, but we're going to be able to add another 12 meters to that with our Exilus mod. So that's going to be 28 meters, which is, you know, in my opinion, way more than enough. Unless you're like super hardcore doing open world stuff where you really need a lot of range, I feel like 28 meters is completely fine. All right, so enough about that. Go tremor splat or tremor kill stream. Yeah, let's go into the build here. We're going to talk about interesting and unique things about the Gaze first, and specifically the primary mode. So the primary mode, it's a beam. When you hit a target, or any kind of object, I should say, but if you hit a target or an object, it's going to project a 3-meter circular area, like an AoE, around that target, floor, wall, whatever you're hitting, and that's also going to take damage. So that's kind of the whole thing with the primary version. If you remember from 2 days ago when we went over the secondary version, well, the secondary version is more of a chaining weapon, kind of like the Nucor. This one does not chain. It projects a 3-meter AoE field that will do damage. This weapon also has innate radiation, just like the secondary does, which is okay. I personally don't like radiation on my weapons, but whatever. It comes innate on it. And unlike the secondary version, this one does not have innate punch through, which is actually a good thing. And it's because of that AoE field that this projects when it hits a target. That AoE field is going to happen on the last thing hit. And that's why we don't go with punch through on this. Because if I'm shooting a target, I want that AoE field to project around that target. I don't want to shoot that target, it to punch through, to hit the wall, 2.5 meters behind him, and then project the AoE field. I want it to project around my target. And so for that reason, for our fire rate mod, instead of using like what we use a lot of times on assault rifles with prime shred, we're not using prime shred and we're using vial acceleration, because punch through can hurt you because that field is only projected on the last thing hit. Okay, and I think that's pretty much it for unique and interesting things about this. Yeah, I think that's about it. So I think we can go over the mods now. So we're going to have Galvanized Chamber for multi-shot. We're going to have Galvanized Scope for critical chance. We're going to have Vial Acceleration for fire rate. This is 90% fire rate, minus 15% damage, but that doesn't really matter. We're going to have flat damage in other ways. Bladed Rounds is going to be crit damage when aiming. We're going to be aiming with this weapon because of Galvanized Scope, so that makes sense. This weapon does have slightly above average crit damage, and just like the secondary version, and so crit damage is a good stat. Critical Delay for crit chance. Vital Sense for more crit damage. And then we're finally going to go with our viral mods here. So we have the Malignant Force 60/60, and we have primed cryo rounds for the 165 cold. So if you don't have the primed version, you can go for the 60/60 as well. You can go for the 60/60 cold rhyme rounds. Or even the 90 would be fine too. But primed cryo will be your best option here. In the Exilus slot, we're going to have plus 12 meters of beam length with Sinister Reach. This is really good for beam weapons. And then in the Arcane slot, on the regular Arcane slot, we're going to go for Primary Deadhead, which is going to be 360% flat damage, 30% headshot multiplier, and less recoil. I don't think this weapon has recoil, so I don't think that last stat matters. But you get some extra headshot multiplier with this. You can also, if you really want to, you can also go Primary Merciless. Not really much of a difference. You can pick whatever you like. If you like Deadhead better or Primary Merciless better. I like Deadhead a little bit better because the stacks last longer. It's just a little bit more of a conditional than Merciless is, so yeah, you can make that decision yourself. And then we have in the second Arcane slot, so if you didn't know, Kit Guns get 2 Arcane slots. Their second slot, though, is only for Kit Gun specific Arcanes. So Pack Seeker is going to be the most powerful Kit Gun Arcane for certain weapons that can actually headshot kill, this is one of them. So that's why we pick Pack Seeker here. So on a headshot kill, 4 projectiles burst from the target and seek the heads of nearby enemies. Really powerful. Now, the thing that you have to always consider with Kit Guns is that there's another Arcane called Pack's Bolt. And when we talk about just the power of the actual weapon, Pack Seeker is always going to be the best. But let's read Pack's Bolt here real quick. On a headshot kill, plus 30% ability efficiency and plus 30% ability strength on the next ability used within 4 seconds. So this is a really nice Arcane depending on the Warframe, right? Like not all Warframes are going to need efficiency and strength, but if your Warframe needs both efficiency and strength, this could be really cool. This is like a primary Kit Gun is pretty much like the best in slot for Titania, for instance. Whether that be the Rattleguts, the Gaze, or the Tombfinger, you know, that's kind of personal preference there. But like Pack's Bolt on a primary Kit Gun is pretty much like your top tier pick on Titania there. So depending on the Warframe, you might want to go with Pack's Bolt instead of Pack Seeker because maybe you just want it for more of a utility with this. So. But for this build, we're going to keep it on Pack Seeker here. And yeah, and I just wanted to add like a little extra too. So I have this built out for viral, but it is pretty easy to viral prime nowadays with like pets and through other means. And so if you had an external way to viral prime, you would use corrosive instead. Okay, so if you're not going in with a primer, you go viral. That's going to be your most damaging element, like by far. And if you do have a viral primer, go corrosive. The only time corrosive will beat out viral, though, the corrosive will beat out viral on murmur enemies and on pure Grenier. It'll be pretty close to viral, but it will beat out viral on pure Grenier, and it will definitely beat out viral on murmur enemies. But for most of the content in the game, this is going to be the strongest pick here, unless you have a viral primer, and then, like I said, go corrosive. Okay. So I'm going to be showing this off in gameplay. I'm going to be doing this on a big, dumb Anaros with no Archon shards that increase weapon performance, no mods or arcanes on the Anaros that increase weapon performance, and with a pet with my test config set up that has no mods that increase weapon performance and with no sentinel weapon. So we'll just see what this weapon looks like by itself and see how it performs. Let me make sure I'm in solo. We'll do steel, path, mott. That's where I always do my runs to test things. If you didn't watch the video from 2 days ago, the secondary Kitgun in 10 minutes scored like 502 kills, which was pretty like average numbers. I wasn't super happy with it.
Your enemies have grown fierce. Use all
It was the right way to build it. I was just, I thought it might have got better numbers than what it did.
They're trying to choke you out.
So we'll see if this one can do better.
I'm sending auxiliary life support.
So clumping up enemies would be really nice with this weapon because it has that 3-meter field that it projects when it hits something. I don't know if you could see it if I hit the floor. I don't know if you could see that field. It's like a little circular field. Something also to know about that circular field is that Primed Firestorm can actually increase it. So, you know, normally it's 3 meters, but Primed Firestorm can kick it out like an extra like 40-ish%. And so it could get to like, you know, maybe like 4.5 meters. So it doesn't, Prime Firestorm doesn't make it on our build, but if you had a ribbon that would like compress stats for you and you were able to get a free mod slot by compressing stats, Prime Firestorm is probably the next best mod to put on the weapon. So if there's any way you can compress stats, you would put Prime Firestorm on next. But that's really dependent on if you compress stats with a ribbon or not. Or if you just want to add stats with a ribbon. I hate these Guardian Eximuses. There we go. I'm also rank 5 with the Hex finally. I got rank 5 last night. So I have reached, I think rank 5 is called the Rizzler. So I've become the Rizzler with the Hex. I'm now dating all 6 Hex members. And, you know, I'm not really one for spoilers, but I do have to say I didn't think that Grendel was going to be the 7th proto-frame. That's pretty crazy. I didn't really expect the sex scene with Grendel as the 7th proto-frame. So that was a little bit surprising. Let me know what you guys think. Like, what choices did you make with the Grendel sex scene? There's a Jade Eximus somewhere. He keeps trying to put that little thing over my head. So most of the kit guns are kind of like this, though, where the primary and the secondary version, they're somewhat similar, but there are going to be differences. You know, like the secondary is a chaining beam, where this one is not a chain. This is a, it projects like a 3-meter field. So similar because they're both beam weapons, but the way they actually function is a lot different. You know, on a chaining beam, punch through is really nice. On this weapon, punch through could actually kind of hurt you. So they get built out a little different because of that. That being said, the build for this weapon is a very basic assault rifle build. There's not really anything too crazy about this build. Other than us not going with Prime Shred for punch through. Most assault rifles you would go for Prime Shred. This one, of course, like I said, you don't really want the punch through. It wouldn't always be a hindrance, but like the way you got to think of it is you're always going to be at least hitting one dude. Sometimes you'll be hitting more, but you're always going to be hitting one dude. And if you have punch through anytime you're hitting one dude, there's a good chance you may be screwing yourself over. Like, the only time it's going to be a benefit is if you're in, like, a hallway like this, and there's, like, multiple dudes lined up behind each other, like Congo lining, which is not always going to be the case. So, most of the time, you're not going to want punch through on this weapon, which is why we go Vile Acceleration. I got the Acolyte here. I'm going to put some status immunity on just so I don't get knocked around. But it does not do anything for weapon performance. So damage to the Acolyte with this weapon is going to be pretty mediocre. It's a beam weapon. Beam weapons are very mediocre in Acolyte damage. It'll do damage. It's just not going to be, like, amazing. I mean, even the best weapon in the game, the Torrid, is still very mediocre in Acolyte damage. It's just beam weapons are not, like, amazing for boss killing. Yeah, okay, we got him down there. It's not bad though either. It's just not as good as some other weapons. So we're hoping this guy gets over 500 kills because that's what the secondary got to. I think this feels a little bit stronger than the secondary, but who knows? I'm gonna hit 1 life support down here. Some of the really top-tier range weapons that we've done, they hit about 900 and over for kills. So that's kind of like the that's like the top-tier weapons. Like we would really be shooting for 900. I don't think this is going to get 900. We're just hoping maybe it pulls itself a little bit more out of the average tier of weapons, which are like 500 and 600 kills. Probably going to put a little bit more status immunity on here in a second. There's a leech egg in this somewhere. Is it the sanguine, maybe?
Let it be known, if the Tenno wants true salvation, they will lay down their arms and wait for the baptism of my Yanis Key.
Got 2 more minutes left, and then we'll get our 10-minute kill count for this weapon. I think it'll beat the secondary out. I just don't think it's going to beat it out by much. My prediction is going to be 600 kills. I think it's still going to be like almost in that average category. It's a good weapon though. Like anything that's average is still good, and it's still going to like stomp all over steel path enemies. Like even average weapons you can take into like crazy endurance level cap content. It's just that there's a lot of way better than average weapons in the game nowadays with Incarnants. So there's always going to be like the opportunity cost of picking this weapon over another. But just remember, you know, this is like a best in slot weapon for Titania. Tied with a few others, right? Like a primary Rattleguts, primary Tombfinger, or a primary Gaze is best in slot for Titania. I'm going to redo my Titania build pretty soon. Because my last Titania video, she's very close to perfect, but I know a way to make her perfect finally. And it was through the help of a few comments, so I do appreciate that. but a primary Kitgun being one of the big ones. I was using a secondary Kitgun on her, and then I learned the error of my ways. "30 seconds left." Gore's just out here living his best life. He's annoying. Let's try to get these kill numbers up. And we'll see what we get this guy to. Probably one more mag worth of kills, maybe two. All right, so that is 10 minutes right there. Let's stop killing. Let's find the exit, and then we'll take a gander at our kills here. 575, close to that 600 mark, but it still kind of falls in the average category. It's not beating like any of the Incarnans, really. Oops, downstairs. So yeah, 575. Good weapon, worth building out. It'll slay Steel Path enemies. It's just not going to be competitive against the best weapons in the game. Which I think most people probably knew that. They knew a Kitgun's not really going to beat like the Incarnans. Or the best Incarnants, I should say. Oh, I got my hard mode Sundelai. That's something. My little ship has the giant turret on it now. So yeah, that's the primary Kitgun there. The gaze. Keep in mind, anytime you're using a Kitgun, you always want to look at the arcane, and you always just want to assess, depending on the Warframe you're using, if instead of Pack Seeker, to use Pax Bolt, because Pax Bolt would be the ability efficiency and ability strength. So always keep that in mind. You know, I did the video with Pax Seeker, but maybe depending on the Warframe, like if I was playing Titania, I would definitely be using Pax Bolt. So, alrighty, that is the gaze done there. I hope you guys liked it. If you liked it, consider giving it a like. If you haven't subbed yet, consider subbing or tell me what I can do to earn your sub. And I hope you guys have an amazing day. Alright, bye.